Once again, let's practice the fist. Fist has to be as hard as steel. So you start with your hand flat like this, roll it up tight, thumb on top like a hat. Then you put your hands in chamber. We use chamber because this is where the center of your power is. Now you're not always punching from this position. Sometimes you'll be punching from this position or this position. But this is a good training point because this is where you learn how it feels to have full power, full strength with your technique, and then you can adapt it to different actual fighting stances. But this is our training stance, our starting stance. So don't forget when you do your punching, you want to rotate the hips. Just kind of slide your hand back and snap it out. The last part, the snap, of course, has a lot of power to it, like a bullwhip. The end of your punch should be a snapping technique, and you can hear the gi snap if you have the gi on. Otherwise, just snap it as best you can, and don't forget, do not lock the elbow. When doing these exercises, 98% is best. That way you won't hurt your elbow over time. Ready? Edge, knee, san, chi, go, roku, shishi, hachi, ku, ju. Okay. You can do those on your own. I like doing 10, but of course we have the restraint of time, so we want to keep everything down to a reasonable amount of time. When you practice this, you don't have to practice in front of the videotape. You don't have to have my video in front of your face to do it. You can do it anytime. Maybe after you take a shower in the morning, do a few of these to warm up and to perfect your technique. Let's work on some of the other techniques that we should work with. Let's see, I think it might be actually good at this point to go over a few basic things, kind of break up the monotony of the warming up exercises. So before we do blocks, let's quickly go over some other hand techniques. Now, the nice thing about karate is you have many, many weapons. The funny thing about karate, as I mentioned before, is it says empty hand. Karate means empty hand. And that's the ruse, that's the funny part of it, because we go like this, see? My hands are empty, I'm peaceful, don't want to fight, I've got no weapons. But in reality, of course, we've got many weapons. So let's really quickly go over some of the basic weapons we have. Of course, we have the basic second punch, and you can practice that. Just make your fist tight. And with the second punch, we're striking to a part of the body with these two knuckles, these knuckles on top. And those are very hard knuckles. And those are the knuckles that, if you hit hard, you can break the object. Another technique we have with our hand, our open hand techniques, we have a shuto. Shuto is famous as a knife hand. And the shuto can be used against many areas. You can do shuto against the neck from this area. You can do shuto into the neck from the front. You can do a shuto to break an elbow. Shuto can be used in many different situations. It's a really powerful technique. And that's probably the first famous technique. In the old days, before karate became well known in this country, they called it a judo chop. And it wasn't really a judo chop because judo didn't have chops, but they didn't have the word karate in those days so prevalent as it is today. So they called it a judo chop. So there's two ways of doing this. When you start, your hand should be up in this position, elbow back. And one way is you come around this way, aiming for the side of the neck. Another way is to come straight down, kind of like the angle of the gi. So with this, you want to really snap. It's going to break the neck this way, or coming down, it should snap as well. That's the shuto. Another technique, which is an open hand technique with the fingers, is a nukite. Nukite means a knife hand where you're coming straight in and the tips of the fingers penetrate the target. So it comes in from chamber, bang, just like that. So that is nukite. Again, shuto, nukite. Another very favorite technique, of course, is palm heel. Palm heel is good because you can strike very hard areas with the palm heel, because when you bend your fingers back, this becomes very hard. And if you strike in maybe to the nose, to the teeth, to the chest, it's a very powerful technique, and you won't injure yourself using it. So palm heel comes again from here, straight in. Good. One of the techniques that we use in the uppers is uppercut. So instead of doing a second punch, uppercut comes from here. We'll do that when we go over the 15 basic uppers, coming in this direction. So what's happening is the regular punch, we're coming in here. With the uppercut, we're coming in and rotating the fist and we're hitting at this upward angle, aiming for probably the soft palate under the chin. So that's the uppercut. Oh, we have many other techniques. Let's see, we have like a one knuckle technique where you're striking with one knuckle. That's with the corkscrew punch. You can do it, use it straight in. You can do wrist strikes. One of the best techniques, of course, is an open hand technique. It doesn't look like it's too dangerous, but if you strike somebody to the back of the hand, palm of the hand, it can be devastating, especially if you hit the ears. It'll make it difficult for the person to recover from that sort of shock. So those are basic hand techniques. There are many more, of course. We have other parts of the hand we can use. We have forearm for striking. We have elbow, which you know pretty well for striking. Those are all great techniques. You have wrist strikes, which are powerful. There are a lot more that you can do and know about. Just realize that it's not just a seiken punch when you're doing Isshinryu Karate. There are many other techniques as well. Let's very quickly, as long as we're going over the basic stuff you need to know for black belt, the different stances. Now in karate, especially Isshinryu, there are different stances for different situations. I call this one's called hikodashi, or parallel stance. It's a neutral stance. I like this stance because it's not really a fighting stance. You never want the attacker to know that you know something. So if you get into a very deep stance or a very obvious karate stance, that telegraphs to the person that you know a martial art, and they'll be wary and aware that you know something, and they'll fight differently. You won't be able to take them by surprise if they know that you're in martial arts. The next one is our basic stance in Isshinryu. It's called Seisan stance, or 1 foot forward stance. We do that by stepping in. Our feet are about shoulder width apart. The front foot, toes should be in. The rear foot, feet straight ahead, so it looks like this. The heel of your front foot should be lined up with the toes of your rear foot. Tuck your hips in and sit down. This is the basic Seisan stance. Good stance because it's a very good fighting stance. You can fight in all different directions, yet it's not obviously a stance. You can stand this way pretty much and be safe. Most people will not understand that you're in a fighting stance in this position. It's also strong in all directions. Moderately strong, but strong. So you're balanced, well balanced forward, back, and side to side. The next popular stance is called cat stance, Niko Ashidashi. And this is a kicking stance. So you put 98% of your weight on your rear foot and the 2% on your front foot. You keep your heel off the floor. And this, of course, is for kicking. Since most of your weight is on the rear foot, this leaves this leg for doing your kicks. So that's a good stance. Another stance that we have in Isshinryu is Naihanchi stance, which is the pigeon toe stance, also known as horse stance. So you get kind of in a wider hikodashi, where you turn your toes in, kind of sit down. And this is a good stance for moving side to side. And the kata that we do, which we'll be doing sooner or later, Naihanchi kata, is moving side to side. Everything is moving side to side. And you can see with this stance and with this kata, you learn how to move efficiently side to side. So that's very, very important. Another stance that we use is called Seiuchin stance, and we have a kata for that. And maybe we'll do a bit of that today if I have enough time. Seiuchin stance is you're standing in hikodashi, now your toes come out at this angle. And you keep your back straight and you sit down like you're riding a horse, sitting on the back of a horse. Best way to make sure that you're down far enough is take your fingertips and sit down far enough that your fingertips actually hit the top of your kneecap. That's about as far down as you want to go. Don't go down further, go down too far, then you go past the deflection, and that's actually weaker. This is a good stance for building up the quadriceps, and it's a very powerful stance side to side. So fighting to the side is great, very weak to the front. So if you're fighting somebody on the side, this is the stance you want to be in. If you're fighting somebody from the front, you do not want to be in that stance. Another popular stance, which we don't do so much in Isshinryu, is called Senkudashi, or front leading stance. So one foot is well back and the other foot is forward, and you kind of bend the front knee forward. So it's like perpendicular to the floor. Good kicking stance, very strong front to back, not so strong side to side. It's a very good kicking stance because your foot's back there already. The problem with getting in this stance in a battle, they know something's up, so they know you're about to kick.